It is episode 3 of the Indulgent Islander podcast. Tim Wood, your co-host, but the man, the myth, the legend behind the name is one Nick DeSimone. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. You're too kind, as always. I'm just enjoying the sunshine for the first time, and seems like a long time, right?
I know, right?
Yeah,
The snow is melted. We can get back to being the low country, and we can get back to getting out and eating.
exactly.
Not
And
have to
I
worry about
need it.
what's
I
open
need
and
it.
what's not, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you figure like a few days to a week of closures and opening late and closing early. Um, the weather is obviously going to be much better this week. It already is. So you know people should do what they can to get back out there because when a restaurant has to close down, that's rough on everybody, especially the people that are depending on that income to pay their bills. So hopefully, we'll give people some reasons to get out and eat something this week.
Absolutely. Want to remind everyone you're watching, most of you are watching this at this moment, and that's great that you're watching it on Facebook and soon to be YouTube. But you can also listen to listen to the broadcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart Podcasts, Podbean, and coming soon to Apple Podcasts. They just take forever to approve, but uh, I actually just got an update email today, and we should be up and going later this week on Apple
Awesome.
Podcasts. So,
It's great news.
um, yeah, absolutely. So, we continue to grow. Great, great views last week for the pizza episode. Some great feedback when we put some polls out, asked for people's opinions. What'd you hear? What'd you hear in terms of the pizza list?
And not, it wasn't as controversial, I guess, as I thought it would be.
Right?
But it's cool because obviously, some of the restaurants, some of the places, and some of the owners and employees, listen, and you know they they'll occasionally comment, and so we'll have like one of the places reach out and says, come on over. It's been a while since you've had our pizza. Come on over, and I'm never gonna turn down a lunch. So, and bearing in mind the lunch that I will pay for. Let's just clarify that,
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm a paying customer like everybody else. So, um, it's cool because it works for me. It's like a reminder, to either get out to a place that I haven't been to in a while, or to get back out to, because it spurred my memory, and they made a comment, and you and I spoke yesterday about one of the spots that we're going to be going to this week to enjoy some lunch, again, a lunch that we will pay
Yeah,
for.
it gives us a reason
um,
to get together outside of just
yeah,
doing this on video.
exactly,
And
especially after being stuck home for a week or so.
I
So yeah, no, it's
definitely,
good, it was
I
positive.
I definitely want to hit Southern Spice with you as well. That's from our episode 1 sandwich list, and I just continue to hear things in terms of that sandwich list, whether it's Downtown Deli or Southern Spice. Lot of folks are discovering Southern Spice from the podcast, so that's very cool. And quite honestly, a lot of folks I heard from a lot of folks this week regarding a couple of places. Sunset Pizza. Um, a lot of people had not hit that. Okay,
Really?
it just. I mean, listen, it doesn't jump out at you when you're going down 170. Um, there's not a lot of chatter online about Sunset,
Yeah.
but uh, I heard from a lot of devotees of Sunset Pizza. And B, I heard from a lot of like 3 or 4 folks that just tried Sunset Pizza out just off of the podcast last week and were like, "Damn!" So, so I mean, that's that's the goal, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Spread the gospel.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised only because there's a lot of people that might not venture over to Ridgeland or Beaufort, or head over that way. So, um, it's good to get, and even like you said with Southern Spice, Southern Spice is not where you would expect a really good deli, um, you know, restaurant, anything like that, where you would expect
Yeah,
it to be. So if we can like help put a spotlight on and point people in the right direction, I mean, that's pretty much the main mission of why we're here, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, the other one that I heard a lot about was, and we mentioned them on the podcast as well. I heard a lot about Doughboys. They've definitely got a loyal following that came out for the poll. A lot of folks spoke up for Doughboys. Some other ones we didn't mention. Let's see. A couple folks mentioned Pizza and Pints over at Nantucket's. A couple folks mentioned Cheap Seats, which again is a classic neighborhood spot over there on Burnt Church and I believe the former home of Monster Pizza, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's before my time, but yeah, not a place that you would think of to order pizza, but I've had pizza several times from Cheap Seats, and I can attest to the fact that it's very good.
Yeah, they've definitely got their following. Savannah Pizza Company in Hardyville. I haven't been there yet. I remember when they first opened, I got like a flyer in the mail from them, but I haven't tried that yet. But a few people spoke out about that. Um, we're trying to cover the local spots. And not that Mellow Mushroom isn't a local spot; it's just a chain. But some folks spoke up for Mellow Mushroom too, and I can't argue that. when it's not
Yeah,
it's not a spot that I seek out as much as I used to, but it's like one of those things where you watch an episode of a TV show that and you're like, why don't I watch this more?
yeah,
Like I loved it. Like I mean, every time I go to Mellow Mushroom, I'm like, why don't I come here more? So
yeah. It's a little
so
different, but still, I mean, very
yes,
creative options
yes.
with the specialty pies, and a
It's
little bit
very
different with the.
doughy.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
the
Throw the word right
marinara
out.
is more sweet. Um, and again, not that that's a bad thing. It's all about personal preference. But um, yes, and some a lot of folks like the list overall. Um, but like you said, I expected and you expected it to be a little bit more controversial. But I think you hit it. I think you hit it pretty good,
Maybe we're affecting some change. The power of
right?
positivity. I'd like to hope. One can dream.
I mean, the high tide raises all ships, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you can have a favorite and still try other places. That you're not. I think that's the one thing I love about the restaurant industry is that you know you're not cheating on them by going somewhere else. They go somewhere else. They don't
Exactly.
eat their own stuff. All they probably did the first like couple months they were open, but from there on in, they want when they want to eat somewhere else. You know,
Variety is the spice of life.
like Squat and Gobble goes to the Squat and Gobble folks go to Sip and Cow. And vice
Yeah.
versa. So it's like
Right.
anywho. All right, we're talking food trucks this week. Before we get into food trucks, is there any other news notes, anecdotes, comments you wanted to share from the week behind us or the week
I,
ahead of us?
I think we're a little light on news.
Yeah.
Um, it's important to note that we are in restaurant week, right?
Yes.
So I actually heard yesterday. We don't really spend much time on Savannah, but the good news that I heard, because theirs was last week, I feel like, up until this weekend, and because of the weather, they actually extended it for a week. So,
Okay.
or not necessarily all of them, but a number of the restaurants, which I think was a total of 30. There's actually a lot more on Hilton Head that are doing Restaurant Week than over in Savannah for some reason. But Savannah's extending it by a week, and I think more than half of the places are going to continue to offer their Restaurant Week stuff. So I think Hilton Heads runs through this. Is it through this weekend?
Yes. Through this
Okay.
weekend, a lot of these, most of these places have a special menu for you to try. Um, a lot of the restaurants are on Hilton Head versus Bluffton, and that's
Yes.
okay. It's I, if I have to have one criticism of it, that's probably it. I hope eventually it will be more balanced, but it has to do with chamber membership too. Um,
Correct.
but
It is the
so
chamber. It is the chamber run event. Yeah, January
yeah,
25th to February 1st, and it's run by the Hilton Head Chamber. And
yes,
just from my experience from being a mortgage loan originator, and in addition to these other passions of mine, there's just they're different organizations. The membership is not identical. Obviously,
yes,
it's Hilton Head Bluffton, and then there's Greater Bluffton, which is Bluffton and the surrounding area. So, they operate very differently. They both do a tremendous job to support
absolutely.
their members. And so, for them to sponsor this and get behind it and to drive as many patrons as they can to their members it's that's what the design is, or one of the primary responsibilities of a chamber of commerce. So they continue to do a tremendous job with it, as far as I'm
And it's
concerned.
just and it's one of those things. It's just another opportunity to get out there and try stuff, and anytime you've got an entity that's driving people to the restaurants, especially in January, um which is historically a light spot around here in terms of the restaurant flow. But I've heard from so many people this week. They've got a list of spots on Hilton Head. If they're from Bluffton, they got a bunch of Hilton Head spots they want to try that they haven't been before. And a lot of these foodies just sort of like uh kind of tick through their list, like three or four every year during restaurant week. So yeah, it's well run. It's bringing publicity towards all these restaurants, which is never a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. And I
You
just,
got
I came
you got
across an
one spot
article.
above you got one spot above any others that you're looking to get out to this week. It's like
Um,
picking babies, I know, but
yeah, I mean, it's hard. There's just so many. And I know that, like I said, there's been challenges as a result from the storm and them getting shipments and things like that. But I will say the one thing that I did hear that got me a little charged up was the original E-Tang out in Savannah. Um, their deal was, I think, $45, and you get an appetizer, a dumpling, the course, and two entrees, which is crazy. I heard that actually on Eat It and Like It from this past week, um, which is kind of cool. And as you know, I'm a big fan of the new E-Tang over here in Okatee. In addition to the one on Hilton Head. Um, so as we said, in terms of variety, when I go to E-Tang, I like to enjoy a bunch of different things, and that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, whether I saw, Shea George had a really cool restaurant week menu.
yes.
Kung Fu Cantina. I feel like there's just, and even like Low Country Backyard.
Yeah,
Like the
you beat me to it. That's I was literally just gonna mention Low Country Backyard. They got a
yeah
they got a really cool menu this week.
yeah. I mean, these are places that they're all innovative, right? And so they all have a number of different things on the menu that something for everybody type of thing. And so this gives them an opportunity to at a reasonable cost to try a little bit of everything, and it may open your eyes to a place that you haven't had the opportunity to try, and might remind you about how good this or that was at one of these spots. So it's a cool thing. I mean, I agree with you. I wish there was more participation from Bluffton restaurants, but still, I mean, this is
I love
a
that
time of
Ocan is on there this year. I mean
yes,
the more people that can try Ocan and James Beard finalist Bernard Bennett, the happier I'll be, because it is a very unique taste. It is um, a Jamaican Caribbean sort of fusion.
African too. African,
African,
yeah,
absolutely. Thank you. Um, but it is delicious, and it makes for a wonderful night out. There's so many. I'm just scrolling through this list, and by the way, it's on hiltonheadisland.org. You can get to the main website for the restaurant week from there. But I'm just scrolling through the list. There's so many that I've been either meaning to get back to, like Forest Fire, or meaning to try. So yeah, picking one. This list is huge. So get on there, check it out. Absolutely, Restaurant Week's a big thing, and some really cool options on there.
yeah. I mean, some of them definitely jump out on the page. I mean, Bodie's, one or two people between 60 and 90. Cafe Al Dente, three courses for $42. I mean, Chez George, three courses for $46. I mean, this is, I mean, even these higher end restaurants, like I said, Bodie's Chop House 119, three courses for $50. I mean, these are significant discounts that they're offering. And what I was going to say before was, keep in mind, Lulu too, three courses for 42. Michael Anthony's
Yeah,
three courses for 46. These are all, Hilton Head restaurants. Obviously, there's a lot of them down on the south end, and it's late January, so it's still very quiet time on the island. And if you're the type of person that he lives on Hilton Head or in Bluffton, well, Nunzio too, 43 courses, $42. That seems to be
right.
the sweet
No, I
spot.
mean
Yeah,
seriously, go through this
yeah,
list. It's like I mean I just keep clicking, and I'm like, dang. I mean
yeah.
it's meant to entice you. It's meant for you to give them a try, and they're putting their best dishes out front, and advantage us.
Yeah. And if you don't, yeah, and if you're one of the people that doesn't like, fighting the crowds, and this is the time of the year to do it, especially now that the weather's much nicer this week, these places they're not going to be slammed. The island's not packed at this time of year. So it's a
Yeah,
great opportunity. I may actually print this out. I may pull the Jim D. Simone like my father and print this list out and take a closer look at it over the next couple of
right.
days so I can get it in before Friday. So yeah, very excited about it.
Start ticking off the list.
Right, exactly.
All right, so you and I. Oh, one last thing. I did notice the sign went up at Flatbread over at May River Crossing, so they are making progress. Amanda and the crew are shooting for a February opening. I obviously they probably would love to be open before the Super Bowl, but I think that's a long shot at this point. You're
Yeah,
probably looking at mid-February at this point, and that's fine. So can't wait for it though. But the sign is up, so anytime.
she dropped us a note, right? A comment that she can't wait to have us over there when they open, and I can't wait to
Exactly.
be there. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we'll certainly be spreading the word when that's ready.
So we're talking food trucks this week. And as always, you have compiled a list. What in general, um, for the obviously food trucks are a phenomenon, but there's still a lot of folks that might not have tried a food truck yet, believe that or not. Um, what do you like about the food truck experience versus going to a brick and mortar spot?
I'm glad that you asked that because I honestly wasn't expecting when I moved here, almost 4 years ago. Um, I feel like shortly before that, or sort of right around that time, is when it really started to explode in this area. Um, it's something that I've always been drawn to because I feel like for a chef, whether it's a chef that's very experienced or someone that's newer with a newer concept, um, it's an opportunity for them to get out there and say, try this. This is my smash burger. This is my pizza. This is my, you know, cheesesteak, whatever it is. And much lower overhead, obviously, for operating a truck. I mean, there's a cost associated with it, and fuel and maintenance, and Lord knows things can go wrong on a truck just like they can in a kitchen. But if your goal is to spread the word and to get people talking about your food, what better way to do it than to, you know, be moving around? Even if you're
Yeah,
focused on a specific area like Hilton Head and Bluffton, um, I think we have to acknowledge that a huge part of it is social media because that's the primary means that they're keeping us informed about where they're going to be. Um, some of them are, I wouldn't say permanent, but more than just a temporary fixture in certain places, like, beautiful Island Square, which is amazing, always has 4 or 5 different trucks there. Um, and so I think the goal might vary in terms of, it might be a chef who wants to, have the freedom of a food truck and sort of running their own show. It makes me think of, Tim, have you seen the movie with John Favreau
oh
called
yeah,
Chef?
chef. Oh yeah.
That's what I think of. And by the way, in case you're not familiar with Beautiful Island Square, folks, that's on 15 Marshland Road in Hilton Head. You'll see a bunch of flags, and it's really like a destination little food truck spot in Hilton Head. But that Favreau film, I'm a big Favreau fan. I got a Swingers thing somewhere in here, Swingers poster, him and Vince Vaughn driving to Vegas. But um, the the goals might be different. You might have a chef that wants to do their own thing and wants to have the flexibility and, wants to be out and about, and that's great. And then there's other situations where it's like, okay, we're going to start with a food truck and we're going to see where it goes, which is pretty much what happens in that movie, right? Not
Yeah.
to not to be a spoiler, but that's sort of the theme there is, moving out of a restaurant role into this is my own food truck, and then if it catches on, which is a perfect lead into um, what we're going to start to talk about, even though they're technically, as of this week, not a food truck anymore. But that's exactly what happened with Tin and Tallow. Tin and Tallow was a food truck for, a year and change, a year and a few months. And everybody started chattering about these smash burgers. And it became sort of a local viral type thing. And with the help of people like Shona at Locals Only, and these other brew pubs and things like that, they helped, including Jarvis Creek General Store, where they're now located.
Yeah.
It was just incredibly popular, and now we have a brick and mortar restaurant, which, by all signs of their first week or two in business, despite the weather, it's seemingly been gangbusters, at least from the chatter that I've seen on social media. So I think use the word phenomenon. I think that's a great word to use. And I think that there's no better example of it than a tin and tallow, which is, again, isn't to say that all food trucks are on that, trajectory where they want to have a full, some of them might just be fully satisfied and might be more than successful with just running their food truck. I mean, we've gotten to the point where, and we'll get to some of these on this list, but some of them have been so popular where they're starting with one truck, and then next thing you know, there's multiple trucks that are posting up at multiple locations. So it's not something that I expected when I moved here, but boy, I'll tell you, since I got here, it's definitely been in our repertoire for my wife and I as far as where we're going and what we're eating. And it's, obviously the weather down here is conducive to eating food outside, and if they're at one of these places that has indoor space and the weather gets rainy or chilly or whatever, you still have the option to take your food inside. But it's really kind of a cool thing. And it's a way to be introduced to some of the most creative chefs that we have in the area.
Absolutely. And I mean, do you feel like do you feel like every food truck wants to ultimately be a brick and mortar, or do you feel
Now,
like there's enough of them that are like this is their jam?
I think there's plenty that they're okay with that. Because we're talking about two completely different things. I mean, if you're running a food truck, you have a couple of employees, right? Or if you have a couple of trucks, you got maybe a dozen or so employees, somewhere in that range. If
Yeah.
you're going to own and operate a brick and mortar restaurant, specifically a brick and mortar restaurant that has a beer and liquor license, where this is a whole different ball game. Now you're getting into, and of course, a food truck operator is going to have insurance, but you have a brick and mortar restaurant, and like I said, you're serving alcohol and beer and wine. Now this is a whole other level of responsibility. It's a whole other ball game in terms of insurance. You need to have more employees, and obviously, this is an area that's a big tourist destination. So there's a lot of jobs in food and beverage. So I think that that's not something that everyone is up to that task, and that's okay because now if they're having a food truck, it gives them the opportunity to, you know, have control of the operation, be where they want to be in terms of the location of where they're going to post up, and then you know not have to deal with all of that other stuff, all of the other big time responsibilities that they have for owning a brick and mortar restaurant.
By the way, I want to give a quick shout out to May River Food Truck Finder, the Facebook page. Um, that is a great spot. Beyond the list we talk about today, and including the list we're talking about today, it's a great spot online to find. Um, Most of these food trucks are posting where they are when they're going to be there on this page. Plus, it's a great spot for the food trucks to like connect with neighborhoods, which is a unique challenge down here with all of the gated communities. Did I lose you? Are you
I
there?
have a black screen on my end, but
What happened? All right, let's fix
we
that.
lost the video while you were talking about the May River Food Truck Finder.
Okay, that's
We're back with
unique.
just you.
Oh,
Now we're
there
back
we
with
go.
just you for both.
Just you. All right, let's
Now
switch
we're
that.
now we're swapped.
Now we're in the wrong spot. We'll get there. There we go.
And we're back.
Hey, oh. So yeah, May River Food Truck Finder. It's a great spot to find the spots where they're going to be, and it's a unique challenge down here with all the gated communities, and I feel like uh the chefs have been real creative in terms of and as you mentioned, like Ty Scott and beautiful Island Square. I mean, just some unique spots where you can find these great the great variety that food trucks offer.
Yeah, it's a destination thing, even though the destination sometimes might be unknown until you know that day or the day or two before. So it's a cool thing. I mean, it's also it makes for a fun day of activities. If it's like, well, this food truck's going to be here, why don't we go stop at this place and then hit the food truck, or hit the food truck and then pop over here. It's been great for, like I said, for the breweries to get more people to hang out at their spots. And
Hey, a great example of that, Nick, is this Friday at Loco's Only Tap Room. You can play trivia with me,
hey,
and you could eat some slap truck food, which we're going to be
yes,
talking about.
yes, shameless plug, and I love it. That's
Boom.
perfect timing. That's
So,
perfect timing. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, that's what makes this stuff fun, is to say, there's an activity going on here, and Shona does an amazing job with all the different activities and stuff that she has there. So it's just another thing to kind of throw into your repertoire when you're, especially when you have a nice weather weekend like we're going to have, and to plan your itinerary around, where all this good stuff is going to be.
what's let's get into your list.
Sure.
Where do you want to start? I think I've got we talked tin and tallow.
Yeah,
Now,
we've definitely
are they
given them
going
their just due over the
are
last
they
few weeks.
going to continue doing some of the food truck stuff too?
Yeah, eventually.
Okay.
Right now,
You got to
the food
get
is,
things settled on the brick and mortar, right? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're cooking out of the truck right now at the old Jarvis Creek location. So um, I think eventually, when they're ready, they'll end up having a truck that will also be out and about. But for right now, just the brick and mortar. But I think it was only fair to start the list off with them, because they're sort of
Are
the blueprint. If you're looking to go brick and mortar, that's exactly how it's done.
are they working on the building out the kitchen inside? Is that what's happening?
I'm not really too sure about that. Um, I'm not positive what the long
Okay.
term intention is with that, to be honest with you. But
All right.
I was talking to Jazzy just the other day, because I had one of those. One of the reasons why I do love social media as much as it's a double edged sword is when it reminds you of certain memories. And one of the memories, or might have been a Google Photos or a Facebook memory, was when I first went to go have a smash burger at behind the Barnacle Bills there. But the more recent one that came up this past weekend was a night that they were at Lot 9, like a year ago this past weekend, and it was like a Friday night or something like that. And there was just a line, like, it was crazy how busy they were that night. And I sent it over to Jazzy and said, it's hard to believe that, like, this was just a year ago.
You
It was
come this
probably one of
far
their
this
busiest nights.
fast.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So, like I said, we want to give them their just due. But I think, right from there, the most natural progression to make is to La Birria Loca, right?
Absolutely.
So, for those of you who don't speak Spanish, Loca is crazy, right? And I don't think there's a better way to describe how La Birria Loca has exploded in Bluffton, starting in Bluffton, right? And then over to Hilton Head. Um, for me personally, Birria, and I might be mispronouncing it, Birria tacos
Berea.
are my favorite. Like, if I go, whether it's Mexicali Fresh, or um, Hacienda, or Cinco, or La
Cactus
Birria Loca.
Street or yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly, and that's another good one. Those are really good too, Cactus Street Cantina. Birria tacos are my favorite. I love just the whole element of dipping that cheesy, hot, little crunchy, spicy burrito taco into that consomme. I mean,
Yes.
the consomme makes the burrito. I mean
Oh my
that's
gosh.
there's been one or two occasions where I've it's either been maybe on a DoorDash order, not included, and I was like, wait, how am I supposed to do this without you know the broth? But
Yeah, this is not this is not the burrito taco, you know?
right. So when I
It's
started seeing them on social media, I was like, wow, like I need to get me some of this burrito. And so naturally started with the burrito tacos, the queso burrito. I think that you got three with all the accoutrements, the cilantro, the onion. They 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 package everything up very cleanly, very tightly, and I was sold from day one, from bite one, from the very beginning. And then you get into, these other offshoots of the burrito where they'll have a sandwich and things like that. But I think the two biggest ones for me are the pizza burrito, which is, exactly how it sounds. I mean, they literally serve it in a pizza box. My wife and I got that, I think, DoorDash or one of the delivery um, companies on a weekend, and we were sitting out on the screen porch and just shared a pizza burrito with all of they give you the sauce, their homemade. I don't want to call it a salsa, but their homemade. You see that there's that green sauce in that little see there in the box by the tacos, and then there's
yeah.
an orangey colored one that's a little spicier. Like I said, all packaged together very nicely. That fresh, cotija cheese. I mean, that pizza burrito that's a meal for two people for
Oh
sure.
my
A meal,
goodness.
more than a meal. And more recently with the with the cold weather, nothing better than, as we've been doing with soup de tour over the last month or two, nothing better than a piping hot bowl of soup. So Birria Loca was in my neighborhood in Lawton Station back in December. I want to say it was early to mid December maybe, and I was pumped. All I wanted was Birria ramen. Um, on that particular night, they were out of the. Usually, get it with a couple of taquitos. I think I got a queso burrito with it instead, but that was totally fine. I didn't really need the taquitos. I just really wanted that bowl of, you know, ramen loaded with that burrito meat, and like I said, all the stuff sprinkled on top, all the herbs and onions and everything, and it was incredible.
And
So
I mean, you can have it with the beef, you can have it with pork, you can have them with chicken. I just and for those who have never had the experience, I it's it's like a French dip, honestly. Like with the consomme, it is just it's a taste sensation. It's I just remember the first time I had one from them, I was just like, "What is this?"
yeah,
They dip the taco shell itself in the consomme and then cook them, crisp them up on the grill. Oh my.
it's got. I mean, like you said, that flavor. It's in the meat. It's in the shell. It's in the consomme. And so I've never heard anybody describe a burrito taco like a French dip, but you hit the nail on the head there, bud. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, when you
beefy,
look at the
cheesy.
picture, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're dipping the taco into a consomme, much like you would dip the sandwich into your au jus, you know?
right. And instead of the bread that we were talking about last week with the crispiness on the outside and the softness on the inside, you got a crispy, you know, taco shell that's, not going to break apart because it's held together by all that cheese and everything like that. And even though it took a little dip in the broth before it got thrown on the griddle there, I mean, it still maintains its crispness. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
the texture. I guess the mouthfeel that you would call it. I mean, it is really it's crazy. So Loca is an apt term, and I think they've done an incredible job as well with their social media. Shout out RJ Torres, Visually Chopped Productions. We put out those couple of videos for School Pizza and Tin and Tallow a couple of weeks ago that I collaborated with on those. And he does, he handles a lot of their social media and marketing and things like that. So they've done a tremendous job of capitalizing on the Facebook and the Instagram and very creative with their ads and everything. And I think there was a period of time was it might have been Cinco de Mayo where they had a special thing that day with vendors that had other sort of things and candy and things like that. So whether it's that May River food truck spot there closer to Old Town, or I know that they've also posted up on Hilton Head and a couple other places and come into the neighborhoods like they did with mine. I mean, that was probably, to be fair, I've been here, like I said, for almost 4 years. That was probably the one that first, and I'll mention another one or two later that have been entrenched in this area for these last couple of years. But Birria Loca is, I think it's an example of the alternative of what we were discussing, which is if you're just going to do a food truck or food trucks, you know, that's the way to do it. And I don't know anybody that likes Mexican food that hasn't enjoyed Birria Loca several times.
It's a different experience, okay? I just to be fair, you're gonna have to open up your mind a little bit if you've never had the burrito taco before. You're gonna have to open up your mind in terms of what the experience like. And I use my sons as a perfect example. It was like, even my wife to a certain extent. It was like, well, this isn't like your typical Mexican food. It's not like your typical taco. Like, what's it gonna taste like? And then we got there, and minds, taste buds, fireworks, everything explodes. It's oh yeah, yeah.
It's an experience, and um, it's a testament to you really don't have to have a laundry list of things to choose from on your menu,
Yep.
right? You put it up there before. I mean, they might have a couple other things from time to time, but we're talking about 5 items on that main menu. You know?
And it started. There we go.
Yeah,
And
there we go.
it's all centered around the burrito. Like they got
Yes,
they it started with the tacos, but they branched out to the burritos, the taquitos, the pizza. But it's all built around that same sort of experience, that same sort of taste profile. Um, it's deliciousness. It's just so,
and
so well done.
their torta, which is their sandwich, you know, certainly warrants
Yes, we don't
consideration when we're
have that
talking about
on this list
sandwiches.
right here, but
Yeah, and
the
they didn't make our
torta
sandwich
is
list, but it could compete with any of those sandwiches we were talking about a couple of weeks ago.
absolutely, absolutely. So, uh, a good start to the list for sure. Um, we've talked about the next one a little bit. We talked about them last week. Hard not to talk about them when we're talking pizza, but
Yeah,
School Pizza's been killing it on the food truck.
you said phenomenon before. I don't even know if phenomenon is a strong enough superlative to describe school pizza. It started out. There's Marno. It started out as and there's Marie. It started out as you know there's this pizza truck that has Detroit style pizza, and it was very sort of shrouded in like the way that it first came about, sort of shrouded in mystery, right? I remember hearing about it, and someone had the chance to try it, and they're like, "This pizza is incredible." And so news came out. I kept a close eye on the next several weeks, and news came out that there was going to be a pre-order for one of their first full bakes, and I want to say I might have dropped the ball on that first pre-order. Um, because I was running around, doing my mortgage thing, and I'm bopping around town visiting real estate agents and real estate offices. And I think I had a note in my calendar to remind me to go on and order them. And I think for that first bake, I think, like I said, I blanked and dropped the ball because I was busy. And luckily for me, I had already sort of developed a little bit of a connection with Marno on social media, and I think I messaged him, because they said they sold out like within minutes. I feel like, and so I sent him a message, and as soon as I saw the story on my Instagram, I was like, "Oh man, I blew it." And he was like, "Don't worry." He's like, "I think we got a spot for you where we can sneak in, a pie or two." And sure enough, they came through that first weekend, and that was where you would pick it up at I think it was like a lot 9 or something like that. And honestly, love at first bite is probably the best way to describe it. I had never really experienced Detroit style pizza. Um, it was just incredible. I loved it. My wife loved it. Um, Over the following several months, it would be, you know, transitioning from that pre-order to we're going to be here or we're going to be there. I remember one Sunday, I wasn't sure what I was going to do for dinner. And I saw a Facebook post where they said they were going to be at one of the apartment complexes down off of May River Crossing until 6 o'clock. I said to my wife, school pizza's right down the road. I'm going to get a couple pizzas. Went down there, put my order in, got a complimentary can of soda, hung out there in the parking lot for a couple of minutes, waited for my pies to be ready. What you're showing here, Tim, is I wouldn't call it quite breaking news, but it broke within the past 24 to 48 hours. I think pretty much yesterday, I want to say, as we're recording here on Tuesday. This is a grandma pie that Marno has been experimenting with for several months. I think a couple of lucky patrons at Bake a few months ago got to try this. I want to say it was very, very, very limited. And I had a major case of FOMO because just looking at that thinner grandma style pie had me drooling. So they have a newsletter that you could sign up for. Just go to Facebook, go to their Instagram, sign up for their newsletter. You'll get information on this. I want to say Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. That's January 29th. You can pre order a grandma pizza from School Pizza for pickup on Sunday. They got all the rules, the whole explanation spelled out there on their socials, the Instagram. They even put a calendar reminder so that you can click on that and it'll put a reminder in your Instagram to remind you of it. I can't wait. I mean, I have not had a pizza at School Pizza that I have not enjoyed. The plain, even by itself, is delicious. The margarita, my brother's a huge margarita fan. He didn't get around to trying it until a month or so ago. He was blown away.
All
Um,
right, let me
yeah,
back you up just for 1 second.
sure.
What is what makes obviously the square makes Detroit style pizza different, but in terms of just the taste, what makes it stand out and what makes school pizza stand out as a representative of that?
As someone who, like I said, before I tried School Pizza, I don't know that I ever really had it. I think I had a square Detroit style pizza at Big Bon Bodega in Savannah when they had their I can't remember what it was called. It was I think it might have just been Pizza Fest. They had their pizza festival at the of course the name is escaping me now. There's a brewery in Savannah that does beer and pizza. Hop Atomica
Ah,
hosted
okay.
a pizza fest last year and it was awesome. Um, Pizza from a couple of different vendors, I think including Vittoria, which is the one that's in the Starland Yard. So the definition of Detroit style is rectangular pan pizza with a thick, crisp, chewy crust, topped to the edges with mozzarella or Wisconsin brick cheese. And this is straight out of Google. I can't really explain it any better than they can. The cheese caramelizes against the high sided rectangular pan.
Yes.
So essentially, this is not a pizza where you really have a thick, doughy, like meaty, substantial crust. It's basically wall to wall pizza. Now, for someone like me, who a lot of times, I might not even eat the crust on a pizza
I
unless I
mean, the
have,
caramelizing is really ends up being the crust edge.
yes, exactly. It's a super crispness to it, all killer, no filler. Like I said, unless I have something to dip it in, and the great thing about school pizza is that they give you a little side of sauce to dip it in. So even though there's not really an extensive crust, when you get to that outer cheesy, crispy edge, there's not as much sauce around the outside of the pie as there is towards the end. So along the edges, there's really not that much sauce. So it's the perfect thing when you get close to the end of the slice. You take that cheesy, crispy, crunchy, you know, I want to say crust, but it's really just the edge of the slab of pie, and you dip that into the sauce. Their sauce is absolutely delicious. This is not a pizza that we talked about pizza chefs last week. This is not a pizza that you're just going to toss in your hand for a few minutes, throw in the oven. Not that I'm marginalizing or trivializing that
Nope.
process, because as we
Nope.
know, it's an art. But this is an art that is a long term process. They prepare the dough for these pies, I believe, days in advance, and the pies are par baked prior to the actual day of the bake, because they take a long time. So
Yeah.
they'll take one of these par baked pans, and then when they get the order, they'll apply the toppings, they'll put it in the oven, and it'll take, however long it takes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever the case is. So when I was at their event 2 weekends ago at Side Hustle, where they collaborated with Antonio Albano from AMA Private Dining, and he had that special sweet sausage, pickled banana pepper, basil, and his proprietary AMA spicy ranch dressing. You know, that was the busiest day they've ever had, and there were people that were waiting. Some were waiting quite a while to get their pizza, and I just kind of stood off to the side and watch things play out, because I knew that even if someone was getting a little impatient with waiting for the pizza, they were going to realize that it was going to be worth their wait, especially if they had not had the chance to enjoy this pizza before. It takes
What's
an incredible amount of work to prepare, and it really shines through with the flavor, the texture, the whole nine yards.
so? What is the difference with the grandma? I mean, I
The
think I can
grandma
see it
is
from the picture, but
it's a thinner, crispier pie.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there
So
seems to be a little bit more crust.
yeah, there's going to be a little bit more crust on a grandma because of the way that it's prepared. Um, the post itself says this is our version of the classic staple. Expect an aggressive bake that will produce some char, color, and crisp. And then, of course, with their typical humor that they throw in here, which is certainly part of the charm, they say it will look artisanal, like someone with a beard and tattoos made it. We've been waiting a long time to debut this pie, and there's a long story behind it. It's a much higher technical level than their Detroits, they said. And for that reason, there'll be a limited supply available for this Sunday's pre-order only bake. So a little thinner, I'm going to assume crispier, a little bit lighter, and definitely more of a crust on there. And I'm sure you will probably I'm not 100% positive, but you'll probably get some some sauce on the side as well to dip that in.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the grandma versus, for instance, the pepperoni and mushrooms here, that's mushrooms, right? Am I right?
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
mushroom pep. So
Yep.
basically, in terms of the toppings, um, it's been mostly mushroom centric. Excuse me, mostly pepperoni centric. I was going to mention the the original pep with the small sort of little thin slices of, I would call it, that cupping sort of style pepperoni. The one that you're showing right here is the special pep, which loops in the basil, the fresh basil, the ricotta cheese, and
Oh
that
yeah.
parmesan or whatever, that cheese that's sprinkled on
Yep.
the top. That one is one of the best ones I've ever had. The spicy pep, they incorporate the hot honey, which gives it a little bit of different vibe. But that, I would say, that special pep, until I had that AMA collab sausage pie 2 weekends ago, that special pep was probably the favorite of what I've had so far. Um, I think the next time I get a chance to order, I think I'm going to try, because they will do slight customizations. So the next time I order, I want to try actually a pie with just mushroom on it, as opposed to mushrooms and pepperoni combination. But it's spectacular. I have to tread lightly when it comes to the pepperoni, because it triggers sometimes some pretty bad reflux for me. So
Yeah.
pepperoni, I always say, is like a kryptonite, or can be a kryptonite for me. I just have to be very careful with it.
Take the Pepsid beforehand, right?
Right, exactly. Prepare for it in advance.
The
Exactly. No
Pepsid
pain,
before the
no gain.
pepperoni.
That's it.
No, all killer, no filler. I love that. That's
It's true. I mean,
yeah.
I'm the type of person, like I said, if I don't have like a olive oil or a dressing or a sauce to dip, if it's a beefy, puffy, chewy crust, I'm not big on just sort of just plain bread, so, or dough. So I just feel like it just makes me thirsty, and it just fills you up quicker. So, not let's put it this way: not a single solitary bite of school pizza goes to waste. I mean, there by the time where most people are done eating that pizza, there's just crumbs in the box, as opposed to pieces of crust or things like that.
Now the one downside. Now I you know I I'm assuming a lot of people do this. You try not to feed your dog table food, but my dogs love pizza crust.
Oh boy,
So like, you're not gonna get a whole lot of crust here. You're not gonna get the dogs aren't gonna get a whole lot
yeah,
here because it's all killer, no filler.
nothing for the dogs.
Yep.
Sorry, dogs.
All right. Where do you want to go next? Food savvy?
I think we should go straight to Food Savvy.
Yep.
So the reason why I like Food Savvy, and Wendell Osborne is the owner of Food Savvy LLC. Um, the very first time that I got to try them, they were over at that um, service station.
Messick's?
The Messick's Country
Yep.
Store.
Yep.
Um, and it was cool because I hadn't gotten to try his food before. Again, this is going back a couple of years. And he was like, I think I was on a hunt for a cheesesteak, because I had seen that he posted about it. And that particular day, I don't think he had the rolls for the cheesesteak. So, because it wasn't something that was on their regular menu. So I said, okay. And I pivoted, and I think I might have enjoyed a burger. I think he did. He's like, I'm gonna put something together for you. I think he did like a sort of a bacon wrapped hot dog type of thing. The cool thing about Food Savvy is that, in addition to your standard items like chicken tenders, wings, like I said, the cheesesteak, cheeseburger, whatever, um, Food Savvy starts to get into the category of, some Southern inspired stuff, right? So you got your shrimp burger. You see their beautiful piece of fried fish there. I'm not sure what exactly that
Catfish.
fish is. Okay, that's a good one. I mean, how
Yeah.
gorgeous does that look on
Oh
top of some
yeah.
curly fries? So they do a shrimp burger, they do a shrimp po' boy, they do shrimp and flounder baskets. I've seen him do crab legs. I've seen him do crab cakes, and um, as we know, a staple when it comes to Southern food and comfort food, and there you see his unbelievable wings, which you can get, I think, dry or wet, I believe.
Yep. Yep.
The the biggest thing for me with food savvy is, like I said, in the South, it's extremely important, the seasoning of the food and the spices that are used. Wendell actually, in addition to operating the food savvy food truck, which is now taking a residency at Beautiful Island Square, as we discussed before, he not only runs the food truck, but Wendell has a Shopify where he sells his spices. You can get barbecue rub, Cajun seasoning, there's Wendell, lemon pepper seasoning, seafood boil seasoning, garlic herb seasoning. These are $8 a piece on his website, which you can find off any of his socials, or you can go straight to his website, which is Food Savvy with two V's, SAVVY LLC.com. So that's Food Savvy LLC.com. Click on spices. He's selling them for $8 a bottle, or you can get a bundle, 5 bottles, discounted to $35. So this is a really talented chef who not only knows how to cook delicious burgers, hot dogs, seafood, wings, but also has an additional business where he's selling his spices. And I think I made one mistake. Oh no, I didn't. He does do a cheeseburger, even though it's technically on the kids menu, so that's on there too. I feel like that's something that I might have had that first time that I was there. But you know, all these fried treats, po' boys, cheesesteak. I think that's on the permanent menu now. Curly fries, coleslaw, and like I said, a lot of these southern, fried delicacies at Food Savvy, where his motto is "Where passion is the spice of life," and I think that fits perfectly in with what you've said before, Tim, about how your passion is passion, and food is something that I'm passionate about, and Wendell is clearly very passionate about his food and his spices. And right now, like I said, Beautiful Island Square, I know he makes himself available for events and things like that.
15
And
Marshland Road. You can see it up on the screen now, and you see
yes,
some great photos of more of a variety of the stuff that he's cooking. Um, Boy, I'll tell you what. To do, we talk about this. We talk about those that do one thing, do it real well. That's what I think of when I think of a food truck. But I am even more in awe, I guess, of somebody like Wendell, like Slap Truck, that tackles a bunch of different things and in theory could dilute the awesomeness, and yet they just kill every dish. I don't know how they have the room in the in the truck to do it all, honestly.
yeah, I think that when you're talking about a food truck, it's very similar to a restaurant where you have to have your supplies and everything like that, but you don't have a walk-in. You know, you have limited space on that truck. So I think there's a talent there, right? There's a
Yeah.
skill to not only making sure that you order all the stuff that you need, but that you have enough on hand to be able to sustain, hours of service at a time, specifically on a busy day, and you're making a bunch of different things. And let's be real. I mean, you know, school pizza's a once a week thing, and it's a different sort of style of getting the food out there. But a food truck that's operational 6 or 7 days a week, you know, a lot of people are out on the road, you know, they're looking to stop and grab a quick lunch. So, you know, a Sunday, like I said, with school pizza, there's a different experience. You're hanging out at Side Hustle, you're watching a football game, you're listening to music, you're playing trivia, whatever. If you're going to one of these regularly scheduled food trucks, you really don't want to be waiting more than, 10, 15 minutes tops to get your food. So to be able to put it out in the volume that they put it out, at the speed at which they put it out, and like you said, to make things that range from, hot dogs and cheesesteaks to shrimp and flounder baskets to po' boys and crab, whether it's crab legs, crab cakes, whatever, like that, this is undertaking.
It is.
And he's built a really strong reputation for himself and for his food. And, I think it's a testament to not only the person that operates the food truck, but also the employees that are working, feverishly, excuse me, inside that truck to be putting out that food at that rate. So
Absolutely.
definitely one of the top choices.
And again, another one that's really just come on, just continues to come on, continue he has been so diligent about just building the menu, building the options, being very intentional when and where he drops new stuff. He's been great in terms of marketing, in terms of getting around to different spots, not just there at Messick's, in the Messick's parking lot. Um, I I marvel with these food trucks, just the social media marketing and the the hustle. It's a different, not that a brick and mortar is not a hustle. God, my God, but um, this is a different kind of hustle in terms of the driving, the the prep to have just the right amount of, like you said, ingredients in the truck, the marketing of where you're going to be, when you're going to be, the setting up with all the neighborhoods. There's a lot of different juggling that goes on, and these guys just do it masterfully.
I couldn't agree more. If you think that running a food truck is easy because you just have a truck and, like you said, you're not running a restaurant, I mean, you're looking at it all wrong. Between the amount of time, like you said, that they have to spend on prep, and then also making sure that they're marketing themselves and people know where they're going to be. It's a it's more than a full-time job, and a lot of these is, sole proprietor type of people. They might have a few employees, but it's one or two people that's doing the majority of that work. So credit where credit is due, for sure.
So next up, again, kind of go to a variety truck, that has really come on in the last year, specifically Slap Truck.
Now, before we get into Slap Truck, do we need to put like a disclaimer or something at the bottom of the screen? Do we need to say the listeners might want to give the earmuffs to the young kids for the next couple of minutes? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but um,
They've got
Slap
some
Truck,
PG-13 rated names for sure.
yeah, yeah, we addressed this, I think, in last week or the week before. We made a
Although
mention
side
of
boobs become more of a mainstream term nowadays, especially especially thanks to the Kardashians and Jenners, and so I think side boob isn't what it used to be in terms of,
no.
yeah.
I also don't think that anyone until Matthew Valentino has ever used the term to describe uh, fried chicken breast sandwich. And that's where it gets into, makes me think of that
Wait, let me
Seinfeld.
find it. Let me find it.
It makes me think of that Victoria's little secret. It makes me think of that Seinfeld episode where Jerry says, "Look, you know what you've done, Caligula," and George is merging his passion for cured meats with the with his, I guess, I don't know, carnal passion,
Pornographic
whatever you want to call
catalog.
it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So um, well, we're gonna tread down this slippery slope, but yeah, um, Matt or Moppy as his nickname is extremely creative. You know, the slap truck, the bright colors, the big hand, you know, the innuendo. He certainly gets your attention. There is no question about that. So, and I'm just going to run through a couple of them. You know, when I first got to try
What's this, by
slap
the
truck,
way? I didn't. There was no label on this, but it looks freaking delicious. It looks like a hamburger.
yeah, that's one of his burgers.
Oh
It
man,
was this was just the other day um, that I saw this one pop up. Um, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I'm going to mention.
it's
Um,
I want it. That's I saw it and I was like, okay, all right, yeah, that's on the wish list now.
for sure. Let me get rid of this stuff here. Let's see if I could find that one. Yeah, he put that one up yesterday or the day before, and you got the po' boy there right there. But yeah, he like I said, it just extremely creative. I think the first time I went, I enjoyed. I think my wife enjoyed the foot long hot dog. I think I got a burger. I got some wings that were elite wings, very interesting, sort of freeze dried corn kernels sprinkled on top of there. Um, it, it's just, I mean, and he comes out with a variety of specials. I think that
Oh yeah.
at one point there was a Wiener Schnitzel type of thing going on a while back. I mean, he's extremely creative. He'll even incorporate some desserts. I'm just scrolling down here. I'm seeing, you know, a catering
This
order that
new
he did
one,
with the
the
potato
Star Wars
skins.
shout out, the baby Yoda, so as to
Yeah.
not to infringe on trademarks, but it's definitely a shout out to the George Lucas realm.
Oh, for sure. Um, like I said, a lot of it is might be that innuendo, but then he gives tributes with some of the stuff like that. So a couple of ones that I jotted down real quick, like the Lot Nine. You know, obviously he's posted up there quite a bit. Double smash patty, bacon, hazy pale ale, caramelized onions, where he incorporates the Lot Nine beer, fennel jam, bacon. They listed bacon twice there. Shiitakes,
Does he
arugula.
cook with the beer, or is it with a Lot 9 beer?
No, I think he caramelizes the onions with the pale ale.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
and then he throws some smoked blue cheese on there on one of those brioche buns. It's pretty amazing. The he's got the Korean side boob, gochujang fried chicken, chili garlic crunch, Asian slaw, Rambo radish, pickled cucumber, potato. I mean, just as I had to mention these ingredients specifically because, like, these are some real quality things that he's using. I mean, even on a Moppy's 12-inch wiener, I can't believe I had to say that. 12-inch wiener, bacon, cheese sauce, onions, jalapenos, and micro cilantro. He's actually involved in um, uh, he's involved in a vertical farm here in town. So I know that he uses,
That micro cilantro.
yes, exactly. I know he uses some of the products from the vertical farm that he has in Old Town. So yeah, there's incredible ingredients in this stuff. He's done tacos. He's done pulled pork. He's done loaded fries. I think he calls them frychos or something like that. Um, frachos, um, corn ribs, where you know this new thing where they're doing where they take an ear of
Oh
corn and
yeah.
then kind of
Yeah.
peel back the the thing, so you're basically it's like you're eating a rib of corn, like a curly rib of corn.
Where do you
Um,
find that? Because I was curious about that. Yeah, it's I gotta find the picture. It was like, what is this? Um, Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to
no, no, you're good. You're
interrupt.
good. You're good. The other thing that I want to mention is that another business that he had before the food truck was freeze dried candy. So one of the things that you can get, like I said, in addition to some of the desserts that he has, is freeze dried Skittles. Which, if you have a sweet tooth like I do, I was really curious about these. So I tried some when I first ran over to. I think he was at Hampton Lake when I first got to enjoy this, and I enjoyed some of those freeze dried Skittles, and they were interesting. I mean, the texture obviously very different than like a chewy Skittle. There's those corn ribs.
Whoops.
Those are
Hold
really
on.
tasty. No, you're fine.
There we go.
Nice.
I
Really
mean,
tasty.
flash fried sweet bicolor corn, sweet chili garlic glaze, sriracha aioli, fresh lime, chopped peanut, Riverroot Farms micro cilantro. Come on.
I mean,
Get you some. You
seriously,
know? Oh my
seriously. I'm looking at. He
gosh.
just posted today that he's at Hilton Head Honda today until 3 o'clock, and he posted a picture of this burger on his stories. It just looks like a double burger with a couple of different slices of cheese and some bacon. I mean, mouth watering stuff from Slap Truck. And I'm a fan of any restaurant, any chef, any food truck that's constantly going to be mixing stuff up. I mean, I've told you about how I
And
was
so
almost like an,
fun. I mean, it
yeah,
just it's the creativity is in your face. Like every one of these chefs are creative, no doubt. But he is just like bam, like right in your face with it, and not afraid to toe the line in terms of the names and I love it. I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait for Friday night.
I, I, uh, I got to be honest. I mean, and I think I mentioned we were talking about tin and tallow, how I kind of it's like almost an appointment for me to check and see what their special edition is going to be. And it's the same with Slap Truck. He does such an amazing job with his social media. By the way, River Root Farms is I want to say
Yes. Yep.
the name of that. I'm going to go ahead and follow them right now. Surprised I wasn't before. Some beautiful herbs and stuff there. But yeah, I mean, he does a great job with his socials. He's at the point now where he's posting his entire schedule for the entire month. So, we're taping this on a Tuesday. Like I said, Hilton Head Honda until 3, side hustle 4 to 7:30. Off tomorrow, lot 9 Thursday, 4 to 7. Friday, Stokes Toyota 11 to 3. Crown at 170, 4 to 7. And then again, Saturday, side hustle 4 to 8. I mean, this guy gets around. It's
Wait a second, but
mostly
he is at
Bluffton.
locals only, right? Or on Friday?
Um, I apologize. I was on last week. You're right.
Okay.
Good correction. Yeah, today Hilton Head Honda 11 to 3. Obviously, like I said, we're taping this on Tuesday the 28th. Correction. Thursday, Red Cedar Elementary 10 to 2. Hearthstone Lakes 4 to 7. And Friday, Stokes Toyota 11 to 3. Locals only tap room 4 to 7. I'm glad that you caught
Boom.
me on. I'm a week behind. I guess I'm not ready for the end of January, Tim, despite the fact that,
No,
like
you and me
everybody's saying,
both.
it's felt like 75 days, I think Simmons said yesterday, but somehow I'm still a week behind. So thank you for correcting me there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, no, the the variety of the stuff he does and the passion with which he does it. Now, are the freeze dried Skittles there on a daily basis?
I believe so.
Ooh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to try some. Like, what is
Yeah.
like what's the taste? Is it? Is it like hard or what? Like
It's not like hard,
harder
like
than
it's
a
weird.
Skittle?
It's not like it's going to break your teeth.
Yep.
It's almost like the freeze drying makes it like sort of very lightly crunchy. Yeah, it's hard to describe it, but yeah, it's not
Well,
like it's like a
I'll
it's not gonna.
describe it next week. I'm gonna be trying it.
Yeah, it's where, like I said, it's a small package. It's good to have like get a little for people that like to have a little something sweet after they eat.
Sure.
It's a cool thing that he throws in. Like I said, something that he's been doing before the truck. But
All right.
yeah, good
Anything
stuff.
else on Slap Truck?
No, I think we're good with that. I need to get back out and see him very soon. I mean, even when I was doing soups, he said, come by here. I'll put together a soup for you." So I'm a little behind schedule. I need to get to Matt. Maybe I'll get there Friday at locals only. Otherwise, I will certainly be getting there soon because like I said, he's most of the time he's out here in Bluffton, but I'm glad he's getting some of that locals only love too because he's got great food.
Absolutely. All right, so we go back to somebody who, not just one thing, but kind of zoned in on the cheesesteaks, the Italian sausages. I preach this constantly. Dominick's. Dominick's cheesesteaks in the Home Depot parking lot. This is a guy that they don't do a phenomenal job. I've said it to him, so it's not like I'm like they don't do a phenomenal job with social media. Okay, but they don't need to. They don't need to. Get over to Dominic. Once you have it, you're going back. Like it's
Not a
it's just
mobile
yeah.
unit, right?
Right.
Still considered as a food truck category and would likely
Yes.
make there. You see the stand there right outside of Home Depot. Um, just thinking the amount of people that are going in and out of Home Depot day in and day out. I want to say they're there 7 days a week or at least six.
Yes.
Um, and
At least I
and
think it's 6.
yeah, and I got to connect with the owner a couple of months ago. Unfortunately, at the moment, his name escapes me. But invariably, when people are asking about cheesesteaks, in the area, almost every single person is going to say Dominick's, Home Depot,
Yep.
Dominick's, Home
Yep.
Depot. I mean, whether you and not to mention, I mean, like I said, it's not just the cheesesteak. Um, the
You're talking about
the
Chase English?
what's that?
Is it Chase English that we're talking about?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Thank
Yep.
you, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Chase English. I was trying to find him because I know we're Facebook friends. And you're right, he knows it. I mean, in terms of the social media and the marketing, but again, he doesn't need it because people are going there for their cheesesteak fix. They're going there for their sausage and peppers fix. I know he's doing breakfast sandwiches as
Great
well.
breakfast sandwich. Yeah.
I have not tried that. I need to schedule my every few months Home Depot visit for stuff that I need around the house, and I certainly need to enjoy one of his breakfast sandwiches because I can imagine just based on how good the cheesesteak is. I want to say it's got those Amoroso rolls like we were talking about on
Yes.
the sandwich pod a couple of weeks ago. Um, the bread makes the sandwich. The bread makes the cheesesteak. I
That's your
think that will
photo,
probably,
actually.
yeah, that's my photo. It's funny. I'm looking at mine actually
Which,
over
because
here.
by the way, there aren't a whole lot of photos out there on the interwebs.
No,
Um,
there's not. There's
no.
not. So this is not this photo is not giving it a tremendous amount of justice because I'm sitting in my car eating that. But yeah, but so like you see, I'm doing the best I can not to get it all over the place. But a messy eat, no doubt about it. But this thing is loaded with steak, onions, peppers. I like to finish it off with a little ketchup.
Juice,
Um,
so juicy.
oh,
Oh,
incredible
like
juicy
you said, it's a messy eat. Um, but I mean, he's they're so good at what they do. They use just the best meat, the best bread. It's not in terms of like what you get, it's a pretty good bang for the buck.
for sure.
Um, I mean, just plot it out that you're probably gonna have a protein shake for dinner after you go there for lunch, or
Oh yeah,
you're gonna have something light for dinner because
yeah.
you're gonna be full for
You're talking about a solid cylinder of meat, bread, and cheese, right? I
a
mean,
cylinder.
that
That's
thing's gonna sit
perfect.
in. It's gonna sit in your stomach like a lead weight, not in a bad way, but
No.
it reminds me of my grandmother. Like my grandmother used to make sausage and peppers, and the onions and peppers would sort of sautéed would create almost like a sauce of its own. And I feel like that's the way with Dominic's. Like that bread is nice and soft, a little bit of crispness on the outside, and the way that they do the onions with the peppers, you really don't need ketchup on this cheesesteak. It really has plenty of flavor from the meat and the cheese and the peppers and the onions. I just kind of like to, finish it off with a little, sometimes even just to like dip it in some ketchup or whatever. But I don't. You'd be hard pressed to find, and we'll have at some point down the line, like we said, we'll have a cheesesteak centric episode at some point, but you'd be hard pressed to find, um, a cheesesteak that's going to be better than Dominic's. And like we said before, they only do a few things. The cheesesteak, the sausage sandwich, the breakfast sandwich, which you can get with um, steak or sausage, and I mean, just a few things, but again, you do a couple of things really well, and I agree, and I'm sure that Chase would even acknowledge the fact that they don't really do that much marketing, if any. But I don't think that it's hurting them at all because they're consistently busy, filling out these
The
shows.
lines prove it every day out there, and
100%.
just get there early in terms of lunch, because yeah, it is a perfect location in terms of the the crowd that will typically create the lines, in terms of the tradesmen.
Yes.
They eat it up, but you know I laugh a lot of times when I'll go into Home Depot and everybody says, Dominic's is in Home Depot, in the Home Depot parking lot, and um the the cashiers will say to me sometimes, like, well, they came for Dominic's and then they just happen to come in and get a couple things at Home Depot. Yeah, 'cause-
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't finish my thought before. I was saying the same thing. I've gone there just to get a
oh yeah,
cheesesteak without
absolutely.
even stepping foot into Home Depot, and it's literally the truck is right outside the main entrance.
Right across the street.
It's
I mean, right?
genius,
No, not right
honestly.
across the. I mean, yeah, like you said, yeah, 10 steps.
We talk about location being important. I mean, you can't beat that location. I'm sure he won't be giving it up anytime soon.
Um, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. Um, which will tend to happen on podcasts sometimes. Yeah, I get out there. It's we've talked about doing a cheesesteak a cheesesteak episode at some point, and we'll probably be double dipping with Dominic's there for sure. But um, there's a lot of good cheesesteak options. This is not just great; it's extraordinary. I don't like to throw out hyperbole and big pats on the back a ton in terms of the massive adjectives, but Dominic's is extraordinary. It really is.
Pick up that truck, trailer, whatever you want to call it, drop it in South Philly, sell as many cheesesteaks as any of those other joints. It's authentic, and credit to Chase for really creating a little micro institution there outside of Home Depot because the reputation is warranted. That's for sure. Um,
I did a story on the original on Larry um back in the day for Bluffton Today. Um Larry was the original owner. Larry Palmario was the
gotcha.
original owner, and Chase is actually the son-in-law of the previous owner. He passed away in February 2020,
Okay.
and Chase was determined to bring it back better than ever. Certainly learned well under Larry and brought it back right around uh, like 21, right after COVID, like February 21. And speaking of February, shout out to Chase. And I know this pains you, Nick, but Chase is a huge Eagles fan, so uh, they may not be open on February 10th if the Eagles win the Super Bowl. So,
You did this to me
congrats.
2 weeks in a row. We had a good thing going. We had a nice conversation,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
and you had to bring up the freaking Eagles again, didn't you? As if that 3.5, almost 3.5 hours wasn't misery enough for me on Sunday to sit through that as they scored the most points of any team in an NFC or AFC championship game. And the Saquon
And by the
Barkley
way,
night,
Daniels played phenomenal. Like he threw one pick and it was
yeah,
garbage. It was a garbage time pick. The game was decided by the fumbles and the three other turnovers, which they capitalized on all of them.
for
28
sure.
points off of turnovers. So
They played
I
real well.
was
Hopefully, we'll see another good game because the last time these two teams met, we saw a great one. So I'll
I
be
was
rooting for
more
the Chiefs.
frustrated by the Chiefs. I honestly was. Just as a quick aside, I was more frustrated by the Bills not beating the Chiefs. Just
I think a lot of
because.
people were.
Oh yeah, and so uh, you talk about two or well, I don't count Washington as much, but Buffalo, Kansas City, Philadelphia, you talk about some of the best tailgate food you'll ever get going to an NFL stadium. Those three are definitely in the running for sure. So,
I'm sure. Yeah.
shout out to them. Shout out to Chase. Fly Eagles fly for you, Chase.
Oh,
Sorry,
oh,
sorry, Nick.
the pain, the pain.
The horror, the horror.
Never going to live down that Saquon Barkley thing. It's going to
Oh, man.
haunt us for an eternity. But anyway, back to food trucks. I think
Yes.
we could start to wind this down. Let's just do a quick lightning round of some others that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
felt were worth mentioning. We mentioned one last week when we were talking about pizza. We have to at least give a mention to Southern Peel.
Absolutely.
You know,
Chloe and
very unique.
Chelsea and the whole crew.
Yes, yes, exactly. Very unique. Beautiful old school truck. With their Neapolitan pizzas. Um, they're not as out and about as frequently, I would say, right? Um,
They do a
handful of
lot of
times a month.
catering. They do a lot of
Yeah,
private catering, and good
exactly.
for
Event
them. That was her goal. Was and I believe she still works at the Pearl. Um, the truck is parked there quite often. So, but yeah, it's when they are out and about at lot 9, and it's I would count it sort of as a school pizza sort of experience in terms of just it's kind of an event when they're out there. So um they've done a phenomenal job just coming into the market and being unique with the fixed up uh pickup truck, with the pizza oven on the back. It was definitely a hook from day one, but then you taste the pizza and you're like, oh, okay, this is more than just a shiny gimmick. This is
yeah,
delicious.
it's an experience for sure. Neapolitan is a different experience.
Yes.
We didn't really get into on our pizza episode any Neapolitan pizza. The closest thing I would compare it to is Vittoria over in Savannah at the Starland Yard. which I got to finally try a couple of years ago. Like I said, at the Pizza Fest, and another time that I was hanging out there where I took a couple pies to go because I was already inside the yard. And I think now you could actually just get it from outside. But um, just like when Dave Portnoy does his pizza reviews, it's almost like it's a separate category for Neapolitan. More of a personal size pizza, some creativity with the toppings. We talked about the pig Nick, as they wrote on the cardboard disc. The first time I tried it, my first Lot 9 experience was the peachy pig, with the peaches and the I'm not sure if it was ham or pork or whatever. Um, Fresh ingredients, great staff. Like you said, if you're at an event where the Southern Peel is on hand, you're fortunate. Um, you know, Usually they'll do a combo with like a Low Country Taps or something like that, so that you get some beer. Low Country Taps was here for our food truck night one time. They do a good job too. But yeah, definitely have to mention Southern Peel when you're talking about food trucks, and just like we gave them honorable mention as well, when we
Now,
talked about pizza.
so
Different but delicious.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they they've created a niche within the marketplace for sure here, and so kudos to them. Somebody who's had a niche in the marketplace here, and listen, barbecue is a lot. But I mean, the South is all about barbecue, right? But um, Young's Young's does it right, right?
Yes, Rodney, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Um, you ask about barbecue. There he is. You ask about barbecue in Bluffton, Hilton Head. Um, you know, you'll get a couple of recommendations of a couple of restaurants, but I don't know that anybody has as big or strong of a reputation as Young's Barbecue in the area. When I first moved here, they were a permanent fixture at that food truck lot on May River Road.
Yep.
Um, when we talk about the effort that it goes into to prepare this food, I mean, you talked about having enough supplies on hand and the process and what it takes to make it. I mean, this is you're taking things to a whole different level when you're talking about barbecue and smoking meats. I mean, it's an art form. It's a skill that is probably has to be built up over a long period of time with a lot of learning along the way. And Young's Barbecue has obviously mastered it. I think you get really strong value with what you get, as well as the sides that are available. Collard greens, mac and cheese, stuff like that. Um, we're in the South. Barbecue is a big deal, and I don't know that I've heard as many favorable comments on social media and in person from people that like food and people that enjoy barbecue than about Young's Barbecue. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know that I would say that it's a food truck by definition, but for a mobile, food business, Young's Barbecue has got to be on any list when you're talking about barbecue in this area. The
Absolutely.
next, yeah, the next one I wanted to mention. And I think I should mention two. I think I should mention one that unfortunately had to say goodbye very recently, which was Lisa's Chicago Hot Dogs. They came to our neighborhood back in December after she had announced that she was closing, but then I don't know if she had a change of heart or a change of plan, so she was going to be around. Still, she came to Lawton Station. I enjoyed a couple hot dogs. They were outstanding. I know that she decided to move up north. I know that she sold her equipment. So hopefully at some point, someone will be picking up where she left off with the Chicago hot dogs. But um, Colleen Brasco Jackson and the Hot Dawg House, which is, we're talking about hardware stores, and Dominick's posted up at Home Depot. The Hot Dawg, DAWG house, is at the Lowe's parking lot. And the hot dogs are, I mean, that's not only is it really the only game in town as far as a hot dog specific place, but we're talking about, you know, authentic hot dogs. She's even starting to branch out into some other stuff. Um, I think there was a chicken Philly, I want to say, um, a week or so ago that she posted about, um, and some other, non hot dog items.
She's doing a
Uh,
French dip.
yes, that was it. I
Yep.
couldn't think of it. I had my finger right on it, but um, yeah, I mean,
Italian dog, the chicken with bacon and ranch. I mean, she's doing a
that's it.
lot of
That's what I
different
was thinking of.
things.
Chicken Philly. Yeah,
Yep.
taco dog, like bacon and cheese dog. She's doing a good job with her Facebook. Keeping everybody apprised of what her schedule is looking like. Um, I believe it's just the Facebook that she uses, but yeah, I have to give honorable mention to that because there's a lot of people that like hot dogs. Unless you're going to take a ride out to Beaufort to that new Hot Dog or Hop Dog. That's what it was called. Those
Yeah.
things are massive and loaded with toppings and things like that. But for your more traditional hot dogs and with a pretty good amount of creativity, I think that like I said, Colleen is doing a great job with Hot Dawg House. And if hot dogs are your thing, that's where you want to go is to Lowe's, whether or not you need to make a stop for your hardware needs. Um,
You mentioned leases as well.
yeah.
Were you here with when Bluff Dog was here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That
Another
my dad.
one.
I
Another
surprised him
one.
with that.
Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah.
Um,
They had to move out of the area too, I believe.
they did. They had family back up in Virginia that they
Yes.
needed to care for, and my goodness, they did some quality work as well. I love them, and I honestly I think uh I think what they're doing with the Hot Dog House, it's kind of taking it next level. I mean, Bluff Dog was really zoned in on the hot dogs, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But yeah, what they're doing, I just love. I love when the Hot Dog House, and they'll be at like Tanger Outlet vendor events too. I've seen them over there, but they're stationed, like you said, they're stationed over at Lowe's, so you always know where you can find them. And you know, by the way, I know more than 10 people that went thinking they were going to Chick-fil-A, and whether the line was long or they just happened to catch the gathering over at the food truck, they ended up at the Hot Dog House, and they haven't gone. They keep going back to the Hot Dog House. So
That's what we like to hear.
good for them
Well
for sure.
deserved for sure.
Yep. What is
Um,
this last one? What is again another I hate when you do this because I feel like I like to know everything, but Pitchin Berries, what's that all about?
I came across Pitchin Berries because a lot of times they're at the Bluffton Farmers Market in the corner over by the Bridge Collective over by Ocon. Um,
Ah,
and
okay.
and I got to give credit to Ryan Chwensky from Bluffton Builders and the Bluffton Buzz. Um, he's a health nut, and he's posted about them quite a bit. I believe Pitch and Berries is based in Beaufort. So, other than like I said, that popping up at the farmers market, um, most of their time is spent at the Paris Island Gateway at the food truck lot over there.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking this week, Monday, 12 to 4, Tuesday closed, Wednesday, same place, 3 to 6. This particular week, that's the only couple of days that they're open. The week before or a couple of weeks ago, it was Monday, Friday versus Monday, Wednesday. So really, like I said, you only find them 2 or 3 days a week. I know that they also do special events. I think when you got warmer weather, you get a little bit more frequency. But, you know, 3 to 4, I would say on average, 3 to 4 days a week. And the best place, if you're a Bluffton or Hilton Head person, is the farmers market between 10 and 2. Um, Great place for acai bowls, um, you know, superfoods as they're called, um, with the
Look at
fresh
that. Now
fruit.
it's
Yeah, I
weird.
mean
It's weird on our screen, but I mean, look at the.
it's loaded.
It's
Yeah,
loaded.
it's
Yeah,
loaded.
I mean the acai, the granola, peanut butter, banana, strawberry, blueberry, chia seeds, honey.
Mango,
My,
coconut,
oh
the whole
my.
nine yards. I mean, I've been at the farmers market a couple of times where I've, enjoyed some dumplings or a couple of the other things that they have over there. And usually, if I got a little bit more room, and want something refreshing, especially on a hot day, I'll grab an acai bowl. And I also like the smoothies and teas at All About That Bean is another one that's a regular at the Bluffton
Yes.
farmers market. So, um, wanted to give them a shout out as well. But as always, Tim, we're not going to remember everything. I actually put out a post yesterday asking for some suggestions. Ironically, a number of the suggestions that I did get were,
On the list.
fortunately, on the list. They were things that we were going to cover, which is really cool. To see that, and again, there were also a couple of others that were mentioned that maybe I didn't particularly think of um, at the time. Um, Taste of Mexico.
Yes.
Um, Hieronymus
Yep.
Nosh mentioned that they're very good. They've been at Side Hustle a number of times.
Absolutely.
Um, the Jeff Evans, who lives in my neighborhood, owns Bowtie Barbecue out in Savannah. They got a food truck that I'm really dying to try. Um, we didn't mention Low
Lowcountry
Country.
Lobster does a great
Yeah,
job. You
that's
know.
another one.
Yep.
Um, the 33 Barbecue and Seafood.
Yes. Yep.
Um, Patrick Malone, who does barbecue pop ups occasionally, said make a trip to Savannah, get some slow fire barbecue. I've seen a lot of information about that. So, again, to be fair, we are so fortunate to have so many of these food trucks in the area. And,
Lowco Grub.
yes, that's another one.
Yep.
Loco Grub is great and an expansive menu. A lot of that southern stuff that you'd be looking for. They were here, I think, the same night that La Birria Loca was here. Sometimes you just want some chicken fingers and fries or something like that. And I think what I also got there that night was they had some sort of peach cobbler that I indulged in for dessert that night after I ate my ramen. Another really good place. I mean, we could go on and on probably for another hour, but we
Melly
got to cut it
Mel's.
short.
Yeah, I mean, there's just
Yep.
there's and what I love is if we were to do this episode a year from now, doing food trucks again, there'll be a whole nother list. The evolution here of the food truck scene has been really impressive, and just a huge shout out to all of the entrepreneurs that, and I think obviously I think COVID uh, kind of got some attitudes changing in terms of I'm gonna branch out on my own and just taking that step to get that trailer and show the world what is your passion. I can't say enough about all the food truck owners.
And I think that brings it full circle. We started with Tin and Tallow. We've talked about Tin and Tallow a lot. I mean, I'm wearing a Tin and Tallow shirt for crying out loud. It's actually very comfortable. If you guys want to purchase one, I highly recommend it. That's what we did, right? That's what we saw happen. We heard about a smash burger. We went and tried it. We told our friends. We enjoyed it as often as we could without being out of control in terms of eating stuff like that. But you know, from fall of 2023 and here we are January 2025, and we have a smash burger restaurant on Hilton Head that should be a mainstay for a very long time. And it all started with a food truck and with the help of, you know, people like you and I patronizing that food truck as customers, and they started to gather a local loyal customer base, and it's all everybody's been talking about, just like all everybody was talking about when they burst onto the scene. Now all everybody's talking about is the new location there at the former Jarvis Creek General Store. So it's a success story that you love to see in a really tough industry, especially with the challenges that they've experienced, COVID and post COVID. And I wish all these food truck owners nothing but the best, you know, the success that they've had and the success that they will continue to have, whether they're looking to open a brick and mortar or not. And selfishly, honestly, I hope a lot of them stick with their, if that's what they want. I support them sticking with it because, like we said, it's an experience different from the regular restaurant going, and I think we're very fortunate to have so many good options, so many great options in this area.
Absolutely. And listen, by the way, we've said this a couple times now, but we didn't even mention any of the Savannah food trucks, any of the Charleston food trucks that will come in for just to dip their toes in the water. But you go any direction, not that you need to, but like Savannah's got some great options. Charleston's got some great options, but and if we missed any, by the way, like we've said, if we've tried to be as expansive as we could here, and I think once again, sir, you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
As Howard Stern will say, well, you did it again, my friend. You did it again.
Couldn't do it without you, bud. And I've gotten a lot of compliments from friends back home and other friends in the area about how great of a job you do. Um, you know, driving the car. And I've had a blast doing this with you for the past 3 weeks. We've only gotten three categories in, and I got at least 15 or 16 in the till here, on the list for us to get to. So I think next week we're going to attack Italian restaurants,
Okay.
which I'm extremely passionate about, of course, as a
As
American
a
of Italian
purebred
heritage.
Irishman.
Right? Exactly. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about that one, and I'm going to put a lot of thought into it because, coming here as a vacationer, I always used to say I have my big three on Hilton Head, and since I've been here these last couple of years, those three have not lost their standing on that list, but I almost had to expand it to the big four, five or so because they all bring something different to the table, literally and figuratively. I have very specific criteria for how I differentiate between the Italian restaurants. And as always, we welcome any suggestions that you have for spots that you'd like us to cover. Keep the comments coming. And, we're really
I
excited
had
to keep
two
doing this.
interesting suggestions here, not to talk over you, but just as you're saying, keep the comments coming.
Please.
Um, Two interesting thoughts were brought to my attention this week. First of all, uh, okay, we do a season of this. We do all of the categories. Would we do a best in show? Would you do a show where you pick the best of all the categories and create a best of show list per se? And I'll say the same thing because that goes against it kind of goes against the mission statement, right? Is we don't want to like put one above the other. We're trying to give you a list of greatness to start from, but you don't want to put one above. Like same thing. A few people mentioned around March Madness doing a bracket. I I mean, we could have folks vote on it, but in terms of what you want to do with it, Nick. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would think that that would run counter, right?
Yeah, I don't like
Be
to.
fun, but
It's not because of any reason of being political or diplomatic, but when you're talking about comparing across categories, that's where it becomes tough. I mean, I don't have any issue saying this is the best blank that I've ever had, among out of all of these places. Usually I'll give a couple suggestions, but I think when you're comparing categories and you're comparing a pizza restaurant to a sandwich spot to a food truck, I think it would be difficult.
or a
As
Bluffton
much as
room, or yeah.
Yeah, as much as I love healthy competition, I think the spirit of what we're doing here is trying to put a spotlight on places that aren't getting the attention that they deserve. And I think there's enough on Facebook specifically as far as this is the best this. I mean, I've shown a tremendous amount of restraint. Again, not because I want to play favorites or be political about it, but I've shown a sizable amount of restraint with a lot of the posts lately where people say, "Where's the best this or that?" A lot of times, I'll hold myself back from even putting anything out there, unless it's a situation where, like the other day, someone asked about chicken fried steak, and listen. I agree with everybody that said Cahill's, and I agree with everybody that said um, Squat and Gobble, or whatever the mainstays were that they mentioned. But
Yes.
I sat down at Nectar, a month and change ago, and had one of the best pieces of chicken fried steak that I've ever had. So, that was killer. So in that post, I just commented Nectar because that was something that I had enjoyed very
Sure.
recently. So I'm always happy to provide recommendations. I don't think we want to turn this into a too much of a competition, but I think really it's more because of I think it's difficult to compare across categories. It's like saying, who's your favorite athlete? I had my favorite football player. I had my favorite baseball player. That might be an example where you could say, at least from my childhood, it was the same person because I'm a big Bo Jackson guy. But for the most part, I
Oh
think it's
yeah.
better to keep this stuff separately, just like even within
Bo
categories. I mean,
Jackson Tecmo Bowl, baby. Forever.
the best, the best. Bo knows. Um, he was a huge Bo Jackson fan back in the day. But yeah, I think we should just stick with our picks, and at times, if we have to weigh in about something that like for example, I am of a very strong opinion that Tin and Tallow is the best smash burger anywhere around here. But that's their thing. Their thing
Yeah.
is smash burgers, and I've had other smash burgers that I've enjoyed, but I probably have had other things at those places that I enjoyed much more than a smash burger. So again, the spirit of this is to get exposure to the places and the locations that maybe aren't being noticed, like you said, with the Southern Spice and the Sunset Pizza and things like that, and so there's a big spectrum of where these places get the exposure on the internet and on social media, and some that don't. So if we can do our part to divert the eyes and the attention to those spots, then that's what we're going to do.
All right, we were just under 2 hours.
Okay, that's good. What was there? Was there another suggestion before we wrap up that you said people were suggesting other than the
No,
best of the best? I felt like you
no,
said
I
there might
think
have been
those were
a second thing.
the two. Those were the two that got brought up. And one's around the tournament coming up, and people love brackets, but
Yeah.
um, you know,
If the
I'll
people want to speak, we'll let the people speak if they want to vote for, like you did with the pizza and with the sandwiches. I like the idea of the poll after the show, where people can weigh in and even create their own category or their own choice if ours isn't if theirs isn't on the list.
absolutely, absolutely.
Cool.
All
All
right,
right,
sir. Like
take it
you
home.
said, Italian coming up next week. As I said, you can get you're going to see the show on Facebook. You can get the show on your favorite podcasts player, whether it's Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, coming soon to Apple Podcasts. If there's any other platforms you want us to be on, let us know and we will make it happen. There it is,
And I might
sir.
be making a mistake here if I mispronounce this. Like I said, as an American with Italian heritage, and we're going into the Italian episode, we'll say "Rimani affamato." Stay hungry, my friends. See you next week. Thanks, Tim.
You got it.